The decline of PvP in the Elder Scrolls Online. Microsoft and ZeniMax Media hear our echoing cry. Brothers and sisters of Tamriel, today I stand not as a soldier of the Alliance War, nor as a conqueror of Cyrodiil's keeps, but as a weary voice echoing through these hollow halls of forgotten glory. For years we have fought, bled, and persevered in the hopes that our struggles would not be in vain, that the battlefield we called home would be honored, maintained, and respected by those who hold the power to shape our world. But here we stand, at the precipice of abandonment, staring into the void left by neglect and broken promises. Every PvP and PvE veterans knows the familiar sting of a frozen screen during a combat, the ghostly appearance of an enemy who was never there, and the maddening frustration of skills refusing to fire in the most critical moments. The servers upon which our war rages are crumbling under the weight of their own antiquity. Lag, desync, and rubber banding have become permanent fixtures on the battlefield. No matter the skill, the preparation, or the strategy, if the server decides you are to fail, you will fail. It is no longer a battle of skill, but a gamble against the invisible dice of server latency. And yet, the cries for infrastructural upgrades fall upon deaf ears. Promises were made. Performance improvements, server stabilizations, and a brighter future for Cyrodiil. But these promises turn to ash, leaving behind a bitter taste and a sense of betrayal among those who have given their time, their patience, and their passion to this war. There was a time when each class in Tamriel offered something unique, a reason to stand tall in the chaos of battle, knowing your strengths and weaknesses were part of the grand design. But today, balance has become a fleeting dream. One patch empowers a single class to godhood, while others are left in the shadows of irrelevance. Combat changes often feel disconnected from the reality of PvP scenarios, as though designed in a vacuum far removed from the blood-soaked fields of Cyrodiil and the claustrophobic corridors of Imperial City. We have seen balance patches swing wildly from one extreme to another, leaving builds unplayable and classes abandoned. The meta has become stagnant, dictated not by creativity or player choice, but by spreadsheets and arbitrary changes handed down without understanding the pulse of the battlefield. Cyrodiil was once the crown jewel of ESO, a grand stage for Alliance warfare, but now it is a relic, a monument to outdated systems and neglected mechanics. Siege weapons remain clunky and bug-ridden. The scoring system is a hollow shell of what it once promised to be. Objectives feel stale, with no dynamic events, no surprises, and no evolution of strategy. Even the mighty Imperial City lies in silence, its rewards outdated and its districts abandoned. How long can we continue to fight over the same unchanging keeps, the same broken bridges, and the same tired objectives before the weight of monotony crushes us completely? In a game where split-second decisions mean the difference between victory and defeat, there is no greater betrayal than a skill refusing to fire. Break free, a fundamental mechanic of survival, has become unreliable. How many of us have fallen screaming in silence as our character stands frozen in place, unable to act? How many ultimates have been consumed in vain, evaporating into the void without ever seeing their intended effect? These bugs are not minor inconveniences, they are game-breaking failures, and yet they persist. Patch after patch, year after year, they remain, haunting us like specters on the battlefield. Why do we fight? For honor? For glory? For the thrill of battle? Perhaps once, but even the most noble warriors grow tired when their efforts are met with hollow rewards. The end of campaign rewards feel meaningless. The currency we earn, Alliance points, feels like a futile accumulation with no true value. There are no prestigious titles, no rare mounts, no glorious rewards that make the endless battles worth the cost. And so players leave. They find purpose elsewhere, in games that value their time and effort. The keeps fall silent, the siege weapons gather dust, and the battlefield grows colder with every passing day. Brian Wheeler, who is the lead PvP combat designer for the Elder Scrolls Online. Brian Wheeler, who previously led ESO's PvP livestream, has been heavily criticized by the PvP community. He doesn't need to be an excellent or even a good PvP player, but the fact that he did not understand basic combat mechanics and was unable to answer combat-related questions from Cypher is very concerning, and this is the guy who always doing combat changes, nerfing and buffing class skills and sets. ESO lead combat and PvP designer Brian Wheeler haven't actually played the game before when he didn't know that heavy attacking gives resources back. It's one thing to prove to your player base that you have never played the game while receiving a paycheck for years for being the lead combat dev. It's something else entirely to try to cover it up after everyone has seen it. The future of PvP should not be in the hand of this man who doesn't know what he is doing. A perceived lack of deep understanding of ESO's combat mechanics, lack of knowledge of the game combat skills and builds. Balancing decisions that sometimes made PvP worse instead of better, lack of understanding core mechanic of PvP and skills to use in PvP. A failure to address fundamental PvP issues during his tenure. Whether fair or not, these criticisms have become a focal point for the PvP community's frustrations. The voices of Tamriel's content creators once echoed across the internet, drawing new warriors into our war-torn lands. But those voices have grown quiet. The content creators, our leaders, our champions, our voices, are leaving. They are not leaving out of spite or malice, but out of exhaustion. They are tired of defending a game that refuses to defend itself. They are tired of making excuses for problems that should have been solved years ago. They are tired of believing in promises that are never kept. When the storytellers leave, the stories die with them, and we are left with silence. So here we are, standing on the crumbling walls of a fortress once mighty and proud. We are not asking for miracles, we are asking for respect. Respect for our time, for our passion, and for the battles we have fought in your world. We are asking for the bare minimum: stable servers, balanced classes, meaningful rewards, and a reason to keep fighting. If nothing changes, the exodus will continue. The battlefields will empty, the sieges will cease, and the Alliance war will become nothing more than a distant memory. But it does not have to end this way. ZeniMax, you have the power to change this, to restore faith, to rebuild trust, and to reignite the fires of war in Elder Scrolls Online PvP. But the time for words is over. Only action will suffice. This is our final plea. Do not let this world fade into silence.